We've all heard the phrase, "don't judge a book by its cover." That is a very good principle in many ways, but the problem is that our brains are hardwired to make snap judgments based on appearances. Just one glance at someone's face is enough for us to form an impression of their character. Before we can process information about a stranger, our brains have read their face and formed a conclusion about whether they are safe. It turns out that we are all facial profilers. In Chapter 8 of Thinking, Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman unpacks this dynamic for us. Research has shown that with a single look at a stranger's face, our brains evaluate two criteria. Dominance, is this person a threat? And trustworthiness, what is their intent? Our brain assesses dominance primarily by the strength of the jawline. We assess trustworthiness and intent by facial expression. Are they smiling or frowning? As Kahneman notes, the combination of a square chin with a turned-down mouth may spell trouble. Now, as imperfect as these impressions may be, our ability to make an immediate judgment is part of our survival instincts. Most of us are fortunate enough not to live in life and death circumstances among strangers on a day-to-day basis. But this facial profiling still plays a role in our lives. One prominent example comes from an experiment in which people were asked to evaluate unknown faces for likability and competence in as little as 1/10 of a second. The first interesting feature of the study is that most people made common judgments about each face. But even more interesting was that unbeknownst to the subjects of the experiment, the faces being shown were of politicians running for elected office. And the results were strikingly clear. 70% of the winners in the elected races were also the people with faces judged to be likable and competent in 1/10 of a second with no additional information. This study has been repeated cross-culturally with similar results. Despite our principles about not judging others by appearances, our brains and biology make basic assessments and judgments that influence our impressions of other people. Now, of course, none of this has bearing on whether these people were effective in office or whether the judgments of likability and competence were at all valid. But like it or not, our brains do judge books by their covers. We are all, in fact, facial profilers.